Dread it, Zach. Run from it. No matter what, it seems like the wild card is attached to the Miami Dolphins. At stake in this one is the number 2 seed for the winner and a wild card berth, or potentially for Buffalo. No playoffs at all. This game means everything here, because if you win, for the Dolphins at least, you're hosting, in all likelihood, the Jaguars or the Steelers, potentially even Buffalo in a rematch. And if you lose, you're on the road in Kansas City. It's, two worlds that are very different for a Dolphins Super Bowl run. Same deal goes for Buffalo, essentially. Ziggy, what are your first thoughts here when you see Buffalo going to Miami and a lot of injuries for the Dolphins?
So I get that there are a lot of injuries for the Dolphins, but both of these teams are teams that have had up and down seasons, right? Both of them have had games where they look like unbeatable juggernauts. I think of when the Dolphins went to Buffalo blew them out. We looked like that Bills team was going to win it all. I think of games like the Broncos-Dolphins game, right, where you win by 50 in the NFL. Like, both of these teams have had their moments where they've looked good, and both of them have had their moments where they've looked horrible. You think of the Dolphins' loss to the Titans. You think of the Bills playing close games against the Chargers and the Patriots, losing to teams like the Jets. So this game is going to be really important because you've got two teams with a huge variance range of outcomes. So if you get that wild card spot, you probably don't have a shot at the Super Bowl. If you're hosting the playoffs until you have to go to Baltimore, you're like, if the Bills win this game, they're going to be the second most favored team in the AFC, probably the same for the Dolphins. So anything could happen in the season. It all comes down to a division matchup between two long-suffering teams.
Two long-suffering teams, for sure. I went back and watched the first game today, and I remember Zack watching the game with me back in week 4, being so pumped up for that game. And you forget the first half was sort of similar to the Dolphins-Ravens, where it was a good game. I mean, Miami was playing with Buffalo the entire first half. It's 14-14, gets up to 21-14 Bills. And then all of a sudden, with just a few minutes left in the half, you have that absurd Stefon Diggs spinning touchdown, avoiding like 3 tackles from Miami. Immediately a Mostert fumble. Bills get a field goal. You look up, it's 31-14 at halftime. Like, game over. What are you going to do about it? Just like Baltimore went on that late second quarter run against Miami, a game that felt within reach and where Miami seemed to be on the same playing field as a Super Bowl contender, all of a sudden slips away here. And that seems to be a problem with Miami in these big road games. Now, emphasizing road, because I know when you're at home, you're a different animal, Zach. But in these road games, all of a sudden, one thing will slip up, and next thing you know, Tua starts to look a little rattled. He gets sacked. He throws an interception. It all comes crumbling down at once in all 3 phases of the game for Miami. You're hoping at home that could be a different story. When I look over at Buffalo right now, everyone's talking about the 4 wins in a row, Ziggy. But to me, they haven't been as impressive as they were 3 weeks ago when they were, or a few weeks before that when they were even losing to Philly or beating the Chiefs. The past couple of weeks have been a struggle for the Bills on offense.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about 4 wins in a row, and that's great. But I mean, playing close games against the Chargers and the Patriots, needing the defense to bail you out against Bailey Zappi and Easton Stick.
Yeah, right.
Things just haven't quite looked right for the offense. And again, like Josh Allen, the way he plays football and the way he's played these games, when it's really come down to it, when they've needed a score, he's been able to go down the field. But it's got to be worrying when you see a team that 2 weeks in a row opens as double-digit favorites and has to play really close games against the worst team in the leagues. Right. This is why I say this Bills team has so much variance. When they're on, I can absolutely see them going on to Miami and routing the Dolphins at home. But if they're off and they don't play a complete game, the Dolphins are not the Patriots. Right. You can count on this offense to score a lot of points. You need to be able to do something throughout the game.
Yeah, the past few weeks, it's been more on the defense. They haven't allowed over 22 points during that 4-game winning streak. But they've been the star of the show. It has not been Josh Allen in the offense. Stefon Diggs has basically disappeared. I've been on the Buffalo side of this the entirety of the second half of the season, as we've talked about the Bills going on this playoff run. But the more I look into this, I actually am starting to lean towards Miami. It's the one thing that's getting to me are the injuries to Mostert, Achane, Armstead, Waddle, Bradley Chubb's now out. You have Howard out. Jalen Phillips has been out for a while. That's where I'm concerned I wanted to ask you, Zach, since you're the Dolphins fan, and you always speak about Josh Allen being a superhero, basically Superman versus the Miami Dolphins. What's your nervous level at going into, essentially a game that could determine your Super Bowl fate?
I'm always really nervous because for some reason the Bills just know how to play us. They always know how to play us, no matter what we do.
No, Josh Allen against Mike McDaniels, 3-1. 344 yards per game, 13-2 touchdown interception ratio.
Yeah, they've had our
different
number.
Animal.
They'll suck against every team, and they circle 2 games every year, and it's the Bills versus the Dolphins at home and Bills versus the Dolphins away, and they circle those every year.
You're most worried about the defense?
Whose?
You got the Dolphins defense versus the Bills offense?
Oh yeah, 100%. We're scrapping people now. We're taking scraps.
Yeah, I think your offense will be okay, actually. I went back in that first matchup, the Bills' offense was unstoppable. They did literally whatever they wanted, and that was with all those guys healthy. I don't know why. I don't expect Tua to make the big mistake in this game. Maybe that's wrong, because he always does in these massive matchups, it seems.
Our offensive line has been crumbling.
So is it dumb to be leaning Miami right now?
Probably. I mean,
from the
I don't think so. I get that this Dolphins team has looked bad, but they've looked so different at home. It's really hard for me to say that this is going to be the week when the Dolphins at home completely fall apart.
And Buffalo is so much the Buffalo home field advantage, the Baltimore home field advantage, the places where you've got blown out, those are really good home field teams as well. It's not like you went into LA and got blown out by the Rams with a pro Dolphins crowd. Like these are tough environments to go into. Philadelphia too. Your road games this year have been difficult. I'm starting to like Miami. I don't think they'll implode in this one. I'd be really surprised if you got blown out. I can see a Buffalo win, but this will not be a repeat of Baltimore last week.
If Tua gets sacked once, we implode.
It doesn't seem like he something goes off in his head after he makes that first mistake, and all of a sudden he just loses it.
After he makes I don't even know if it's the first mistake. The minute he gets sacked, it's over. Game's over. He just loses it. I don't know what happens, but so far, we did it. Either you brought the stat, I think earlier this season. Like when he gets sacked.
Oh, like 3 times. When he sacked 3 times, I think. Yes.
We just implode. Like it's complete implosion.
I'm gonna pick Miami in this one. I'm not comfortably. This is just going with a gut thing. Ziggy, are you sticking with the Bills?
The Dolphins are 7-1 at home. They've looked so good at home. All of their bad luck was burned when Tyreek Hill's house burned down. I firmly believe that this Dolphins team is going to get it together and win the division.
Even though I thought you've been on the Bills the entirety. Did something switch?
No. What have I been in on? I have been in on the Bills and Dolphins are going to play for the division in Week 18. I have been beating that drum for 2 months. I didn't say what the outcome was going to be. Okay, I said that was going to be the game. If this were in Buffalo, Bills by a million, I really think this Dolphins team is good. And if they implode and don't look prepared, then I'm going to be very worried about the future of this team. But they've looked good too many times for me to not pick them here.
This has to be the time. It has to be the time, Zach. This is the year. This is the year.
Hopefully.